Hello guys, thank you so much for coming back to watch another video on my channel. An open world Resident Evil game? A concept which we Resident Evil fans are not familiar with, but a new leak has just been surfaced on the internet by a known leaker which suggests that Resident Evil 9 is going to be the first open world Resident Evil game in the Resident Evil franchise. So without wasting any time, let's dive into this video. Now if you're brand new to my channel and you do end up liking this video, do give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'm also going to start making more in-depth analysis where I'm going to be talking about the concepts within horror gaming. And I'm also going to do some retrospective reviews for all horror titles within Silent Hill franchise or Resident Evil franchise. So if you do like that sort of content, do make sure to stick around and stay tuned because I'll be posting more of those videos on my channel. I personally think Resident Evil 9 is one of the most anticipated titles at the moment. The previous entries within this mainline games has concluded Ethan Winter's storyline. Now we have so many questions as to where this franchise is heading. Are we going to see a return of the old Resident Evil characters? Or are we going to see brand new protagonists leading into Resident Evil 9? Are we going to see some brand new locations? Or are we going back to the previous locations which has been introduced in the previous titles? So many questions lingers in our head while we waiting patiently for an announcement for Resident Evil 9. There has been some leaks around this game which has not been verified by Capcom, but it gives us a hint as to what we can expect to see from this future Resident Evil title. Now within this plethora of information we already got, a new leak has just been surfaced on the internet by a known leaker who goes by the name of Dusk Golem, and he had some pretty solid information to give out on his Twitter account. He confirmed that Capcom loves to make 3 consecutive titles at the same time. For example, they have done that with Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 2 Remake and Devil May Cry 5 to showcase the new RE engine. And to be honest, that is right, because we had Resident Evil 7 in 2017, then we had Resident Evil 2 Remake which was announced in 2015 but got released in 2019, and the same thing happened with Devil May Cry 5 which was also released in the same year in 2019. He then further clarified, due to the good reception on Resident Evil 2 Remake, it has greenlit other remakes within this franchise like Resident Evil 3 Remake and Resident Evil 4 Remake. He then moved on to confirm that Dragon Dogma 2 expanded RE engine functionality for open world games. He then confirmed the other 2 games building on the same tech is Monster Hunter Wilds and Resident Evil 9. Now we know Dragon Dogma 2 and Monster Hunter Wilds, they're both RPGs and open world RPGs, so it makes sense for both of them to work on a similar tech. However, it does not make sense to why Resident Evil 9 would be utilizing this technology unless they go in open world in a similar style. Now if you take this information as it is, an open world Resident Evil title, to be honest, I'm not sure if it's actually going to work, because at the end of the day, Resident Evil games are meant to be survival horror games within a confined environment. However, I do have a theory and I do believe that this information might be accurate. Now we know from the previous leak that Resident Evil 9 has the highest amount of budget currently at the moment, and it has been in development since 2018, which also means it had the longest amount of time which has been spent on a Resident Evil game. So if that information is accurate, that means Resident Evil 9 is going to be the biggest title we've seen within this franchise. However, I don't think it'll be as big open world as we've seen in Dragon Dogma 2 or we're going to see in Monster Hunter Wilds. Now Dragon Dogma 2 world is quite complex. It has so many layers, and the world was supposed to be explored because it's the sort of setting we have in that game. The same can be said about the Monster Hunter games, where you go and loot and find and slay these different sort of monsters, but it's not the same for Resident Evil games. So Resident Evil 9 is not going to be that massive in open world compared to these 2 titles. Then there is another issue they're going to face, because Dragon Dogma 2 right now having performance issues, whether we're talking about PC or consoles, and Resident Evil games has been quite stable on these current gen consoles. So I don't think that they would poorly optimized Resident Evil game, which I don't think will work for Resident Evil 9. However, saying that, I do believe that the game would still have a semi-open world, because we've seen Resident Evil Village, which was more like an open field area, which had a Metroidvania style where you can go and explore in your own pacing, even though the game was quite linear with the main objectives. So this time around, I personally think they will give you more freedom on Resident Evil 9, where you can go and do objectives on your own pacing. And bear in mind, this concept was also followed in Evil Within 2. In Evil Within 2, you had this map where you can go and explore it for loot or doing some small side quests. So what my understanding is that we might get a similar sort of map where you have different locations, let's say like a mansion sort of location where you can go in and you can get stuck and you have to solve puzzles to get out, and you might even have stalker enemy, for example. It would be more like risk and reward situation where you can go and explore and find different loot, different weapons, and I think it will create more agency for the player. So I think this concept would actually work if they'd done it right. But one thing I want them to keep in check is to make sure the game is survival horror, because Resident Evil Village kind of lost that sort of touch we've seen in Resident Evil 7, because the game went open field and you can go and explore while it become a bit more actiony compared to survival horror. So it might work as long as they can dial down on the action and dial up on the survival horror elements. And I think they can pull this off as long as the game is properly optimized on a RE engine. So what do you guys think about an open world Resident Evil game within this franchise? Please do let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below in this video. And that's it for the video, guys. I'll catch you again with another video on my channel. Until then, look after yourself. Have a good one.